2 months. That's how long I have been running. That thing has been hunting me ever since I found out what it was. I must warn you of this being before you fall under its spell. If you hear it, run and leave the area before he chooses you as a target. September 27th, 2008, 9:15. My name is Gerwald Mintz. I am head of the Ravenwood Police Department. I've always loved my job and the respect that comes with it. The town of Ravenwood has always been a quiet one. It has a population of around 1,000, and there is very little crime or things of the such. The worst crime in this town within the last year was a teenage boy vandalizing the church. In this town, if something happened on the west end, everyone on the east end would know by the next day. Word gets around quickly. So when a few people started talking about something like a giant bird or a big shadow going around in the night sky, it reached my ears fairly quickly. Almost everyone was at least a little scared of this shadow. If they weren't, then they were people who hunted in the woods that surrounded this town. I heard about this thing from a caring old lady that I visited almost every day. She was talking with her friend when she saw me and called me over. She then asked me if I knew anything about the thing that's been flying around. I didn't know anything about it, and she started explaining. While she was walking her little dog at night near the woods, she saw a shadow cross the ground where she was walking. She then looked up into the night sky to see what it was. It was, according to what she saw, a thing with wings, like a bird, but was so much bigger. She told me that it was about 30 to 35 feet wide, but wasn't too long, maybe around 6 to 7 feet long. I had listened to humor the old woman. She wasn't the best in the head, meaning she has seen things before. I told her that it was probably just a migratory bird. Since it's autumn, there were several different species of bird that stopped by the town to take a break. She and I had talked for a few more minutes about this. Then I got a call from an officer. When I answered it, it was one of the officers that were on patrol and had asked me to come to the northern end of town near the woods. As he said he would fill me in when I got there, I said goodbye to the old woman and got in my squad car. I started to head toward the area. When I got there, I saw the last thing I wanted to see. 3 other squad cars and a small crowd. The area in front of the cars was taped off, and there were 4 other officers within the taped off area, which was about 30 feet from the tree line, and 2 officers outside trying to get the crowd dispersed. The officer that had called me started to jog over to me and led me under the tape. I had asked what had happened, and he just pointed to what the other 4 officers were looking at. The officer said that the woman's friend is the one who called, crying and begging for them to come and help, that a giant bird had killed her friend. I walked forward and knelt down to investigate. It was a dead woman, around the age of 25 or so, long brown hair. She was sprawled on the ground on her back, spread eagle, and her skin was pasty white. Her eyes were rolled back into her head, sunk into the sockets. The weird thing that I saw is that she was not cut, had no bruising, and there was no sign of a struggle. She looked like her life was literally just gone, like it was sucked out of her. I looked around the area and I saw something that seemed to shine in the light. I got up and went over to what it was, a camera. It was facing the woman and was still recording. I figured that the video from it might have some evidence, so I kept it to watch it later. After the area was cleaned up, I went back to the PD and went into my office to review the video. September 27th, 2008, 14:45 hours. It was a normal, average recording. It was late at night, maybe early morning before light. She was speaking with her friend, having fun and talking about a friend's party that they were coming home from. They got to an area in front of the woods when the woman stopped and looked towards them, her face in the camera's view. At this time, there was faint static on the video. She asked her friend if she could hear that. Her friend just looked at her confused before replying that she did not. The woman then started walking towards the woods, camera facing in front of her. She kept walking towards the thickening brush, and then she stopped. It was quiet for a few seconds. Then there was a rustle, the static appearing again. The camera quickly turned upwards as something came down and tackled her, knocking the camera from her hand. It landing in the position I found it. All that could be seen after it settled was the woman's dead body. Her friend screamed and there was the sound of flapping and footsteps. I could deduce that the footsteps were from her friend. The flapping had to be from whatever it was that attacked the poor woman. I paused the video and thought. Then I realized something. The old woman I was talking to earlier today told me about a bird-like thing. I put the information together, flapping in a big shadow. It had to be some kind of a bird, but there was no bird in existence that had a wingspan of 30 feet. I had to get more information. I continued to review the video, slowing down the video to get a better look at the blur. After reviewing that part of the video several times, I realized that there were 2 dots that stood out. Red dots. I looked closer and reviewed it a few more times. I then realized that those dots were its eyes. It unnerved me to say the least. Bright red eyes on a pure black blur from a video recording seemed like something out of a story. Even as I was packing up to leave the PD, I couldn't get it out of my head. The picture stayed in my mind as I tried to deduce what it could be. I couldn't come up with anything. I decided to sleep on it. So, deciding that, I locked up and left. September 29th, 2008, 22:35 hours. It was late at night and I was taking a walk to relieve myself of some of the stress that this murder had brought about. I couldn't think of who or what could have done that. The way she looked after she was gone wasn't natural. There was no bruising even after death, but she was killed almost instantly. How that could happen without there being any wounds, I thought I would never know. It wasn't a heart attack. I have seen how a person looks from a death by heart attack, and that wasn't it. I looked towards the woods and saw a figure. First thing that crossed my mind is how tall the thing was. It was about 6'11", maybe 7 feet tall. It looked like a man, so I spoke out to it. I asked him what he was doing out so late. I was greeted with silence. I asked a little louder, thinking he couldn't hear me. Then I heard a song. It was like a person singing, but I couldn't find where it was coming from. It sounded like it was coming from everywhere, like it was just in my head. I looked towards the figure, and I could feel myself slipping from consciousness. All I could focus on was the song. It was beautiful. Sounded like 1,000 voices in perfect harmony and sync. It seemed like it was coming from the figure. I wanted to hear more, so I moved forward towards it. As I got closer, I saw something sticking out from the person's back. Then I saw there were 2 things, one on each side. I came out of my trance-like state when I realized what they were. Wings. My eyes widened and I took a step back. The song stopped and the thing moved. It looked like it was taking a large breath. Only a few seconds later, I heard an extremely loud screech that nearly knocked me unconscious. The sound was deafening. I couldn't stand up straight. I wasn't fully out though. I couldn't move, but I could hear and see, even if there was a ringing in my ears and my vision was blurry. I saw the being start walking towards me. It looked like a young man, around 19 or 20. He had jet black hair and red eyes. I saw that he was wearing black combat boots, dark pants, and a black turtleneck. I saw that my assumption was correct. He had wings. They matched his hair and what he was wearing. Pure black. I thought I was a goner. Then I heard a shout and the boy turned. Bark shot off from a tree near his head. I saw that happen before I heard the bang. As soon as the bird realized he was being shot at, which was quickly, the wings unfolded. The wingspan was 35 feet. He went about 20 feet in the air and looked down at me. He smiled at me. It wasn't a scary one, but it unnerved me. He then took off flying just above the trees deeper into the woods. My co-head of the PD was the one that found me. After the male had gone, he came up to me and I allowed myself to become unconscious. October 14th, 2008, 12:25. I woke up in the hospital, which was another town over. I had bandages over my ears and head. A doctor came in there and introduced himself. He told me I had been asleep for about 2 weeks, and that my inner ear on my right ear was completely destroyed, is how I'm putting it. I could not hear out of my right ear, and that was the explanation. He said that the damage caused to my ear comes from an extremely high-pitched and loud noise, maybe close to the equivalent of standing next to a jet engine as it's taking off, but no one in town heard it except for me. I withheld the information about the winged man and let myself fall into relaxation at the hospital. I turned my head and saw him through the window. I nearly screamed. He was on the roof of the building across the street to the hospital. I could see him and his wings clearly. I was terrified of this thing I had been faced with. Then I began to realize something. He was singing the song, and I couldn't help myself from listening, and I felt that feeling. He was trying to draw me in, to eat me, my soul. That was how he killed the woman. And why? He eats them. He dines on human souls. I have heard of beings like this. They are called sirens. They have wings like birds and heads of humans. They sing songs that lead in people, and after that, no one knows. I do. I will not give in. I won't listen. 2 months after this, I am hearing it, the song. The one I heard from that boy. It has been playing in my head. I have seen him several times. He's always near me, even if I can't see him. He never really takes his eyes off of me. I know what he wants. He wants me to succumb. He wants me to listen to the siren song. The siren is here. Hey folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and please share it with any friends that you think might like this. Trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by a couple months from now, so help things chug along and join the Demon Horde, and I will see you all in the next one.